Ahoy, friends! Welcome to building the Alpha Dory. I'm Dan. This is a project to build a Chamberlain racing dory from John Gardner's The Dory book. Illustrations by Sam Manning. Alright, today we'll be out in the shop and we're going to be gluing up the centerboard and centerboard trunk and rudder pieces. Let's get out there and get to it. Alright, so I've cut up the sheet of plywood that we got the other day into some rough basic shapes. This is 3/8 ply, and so I found this cardboard pattern up in the loft. Got this out, traced it out on the cardboard. Actually, and when I traced it on the cardboard, I pretty much just used these corners to put marks on the cardboard, and then used an actual straight edge to connect the dots, just because this cardboard is kind of wimped out, kind of chewed up. And yeah, so these are the rough outline basically of the rudder and the centerboard box. So yeah, I've got those pieces. Here's the rudder pieces roughed out, and centerboard box bits, and the centerboard which goes inside of the centerboard box. So yeah, let's get gluing them up. So I've cleared out a bit of a spot on the floor here. It's a fairly flat part of the floor. Got some brand new jug of Type Bond 3 here. See how that does on the first layer anyway. Yeah, so I'm just trying to get a fairly even distribution. I like to go a little bit heavier around the edges just to make sure you get a great seal. So this is yeah, for those of you who aren't familiar with the different type of boats, the Chamberlain racing dory is a centerboarder, which is sort of broadly a type of boat that gets its lateral resistance In other words, it resists sliding sideways in the wind from a centerboard. A centerboard is a swinging plate or foil. It's a moving adjustable plane that you drop down out of a box that's built into the hull, and that fin, that plane, acts like a keel. Keeps the boat from side slipping in the water. So, yeah, and that's what this is that we're making right here. It's the fin that keeps the boat from slipping sideways. I'll lay this down flat so the glue can soak in a bit. I'll get the other half of it down there. And yeah, it should be good to go. So, yeah, centerboard is a fairly recent invention as far as sailing goes. There weren't any centerboards prior to, say, like 1812, something like that. 1820 is, I think, when it was invented, supposedly, right around then. But they became really popular really quickly. Now, there have been things called dagger boards in various cultures for centuries, eons, whatever. Supposedly the Polynesian log canoes that were used to settle the all across the Pacific by Polynesian explorers. Supposedly those boats had dagger boards of sorts, or some sort of adjustable water planes. The centerboard, per se, as the name implies, is a more or less a European, the sort of great minds thinking alike type of deal. It's a European invention / development of a somewhat similar principle. So the log canoes would basically have some sort of a board that would be pushed or pivoted down between the logs, whereas the centerboard has a box that keeps water out of the main sort of displacement hull, and the board swings down out of the box, usually pivoted at its front end, some point at the front end of the board, and oftentimes it's on a rope or a wire on the back edge. On this boat, it's actually on a rod, a solid rod, iron, or I think we'll probably go with bronze or copper, depending. But it's a solid piece, so it's either, on this boat, it's either up or it's down. And the rod kind of holds the board down when it's in the down position. Some centerboards need to be weighted to be held down. And some, like the rod will hold it down, or some of them, just the weight of the wood is enough to keep the board down in the water. Okay, so I'll go grab the other piece of the board, and we'll glue them up. And we got to do similar with the rudder. So I'll throw some glue on the rudder portions. Puppies up as well. Thinking I might want to put a couple nails in the centerboard, just to make sure it doesn't move too much. Before we start gluing the things are lined up the way we want them to be. I'll put a nail about where the yeah, let's see if we can get one in where the Okay, so next one. Let's see here. Yeah. Trying to think if we might want to put a I'm wondering if this is going to squeeze enough with the glue. If we put this on top, let's see. I think I can put a block under this corner to keep that so that it's going to glue up nice and tight. Let's see if we can find a piece of wood that's thick enough to get in under there. I've got a couple of clamps too that we can put on it, so yeah, let me find a piece of wood that's the right size and be back with the next glue up. So the rudder is a similar sort of thing to the centerboard, another fin down in the water to help control where the boat, how the boat handles. Now the rudder also prevents side slip of the hull to some degree, but the main job of the rudder is sort of a balancing fin for the centerboard. And the rudder is hinged off the stern of the boat and lets you, so that way you can control what direction the rudder is pointing in. And it basically lets you steer the boat in the direction that you want to go by turning the boat, by putting the rudder over. But most of what the rudder does during the course of sailing is actually, it's a sort of balancing foil that balances the pressure between the centerboard and the rudder, which is what keeps the boat going in a straight line. Because most of what you're doing with the rudder is actually just, sailing in straight lines. You do put it over when you're coming about or when you're maneuvering the boat, turning it and all that stuff. But 90% of what the rudder is doing is sort of tweaking the balance between the sails and the centerboard by increasing or decreasing rudder angle. So yeah, that's an important part of the boat. And like I was saying in a previous video, it's the rudder is steered with a yoke and lines, which is somewhat unusual for most boats. Most small boats steer with a stick called the tiller, which is a rigid connection between the rudder head, the rudder blade, and the sailor. The yoke is a cross piece with pulleys on it and a line that goes to the sailor. So the sailor adjusts the angle of the rudder by tensioning or releasing tension on the steering line. Now, this is an ancient way of steering marblehead boats, marblehead dories. The Swampscott dories were steered with we're steered with tillers, and the Marblehead boats were steered with lines. Alright, set that down while we glue up the next one. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting little sort of historical anomaly. But those lines allow the sailor to pretty much sit wherever in the boat is best for the balance of the boat, the sailing balance and whatnot. And whereas if you've got a tiller, you've got to sit within reach of the tiller, and that's both side to side and front to back in the boat. So a tiller on this boat would be pretty impractical, because the ideal sailing seat is at this second frame or third frame here, which is about almost 14 feet from the stern. Not 14 feet, it's about 8 feet from the stern, but even so, that's a long ways. That's a very long tiller, and you'll need a 9-foot tiller to sit that far away from the transom. So that's why these tiller lines are used. Okay, good. We're looking good there, just making sure that how this is going to go on. Yeah, looks good. And this rudder will get another reinforcement, 2 more pieces of plywood either side of the rudder stock, for probably 2 feet down the rudder's length, maybe. Not down into the water, but close to it. And that just reinforces the somewhat narrower headstock of the rudder, so that it's able to resist the twisting forces that the blade puts on it, which there's quite a fair amount of pressure carried on that blade when you're sailing. Alright, so looks like we're good to go there. Alright. Looks like a pretty good match there. And this we haven't cut to its final size, so it's a little bit less discriminating as far as the lineup. Let's see. I definitely want to weight across the top. Excuse me. Making sure that we're touching down here too. Yeah, okay, looks good. I think what I'll do is bring this one right to the top. Put another one down and right there. And put another small weight on the side. Yeah, these are 70-pound tube sands. Now I'll put a few more. Put a few more weights on there. We should be good to go. Yeah, so anyway, the centerboard, like I was saying, is a 1800s development in Europe anyway. And by say 1840 or so, there were centerboards in pretty regular use all over, the New England area. Anyhow, it was pretty quickly adopted. It was kind of became a favorite with New England fishing fleets. Muscungus Bay sloops, which were the predecessors of the Friendship sloops, all kinds of Hampton Bay boats, Hampton Whaler, Isle of Shoals boat, Cape Cod cat boats, which are sort of another item entirely. Let's see, all kinds of a number of different dories. Centerboards were sort of a favorite among dory-built boats because dories were excellent shallow watercraft to begin with, and the ability to have a light, easily adjusted as far as depth goes, fin to help them sail better, go to windward better, was a huge benefit in a dory. So dories adopted centerboards very early on, and that's what this boat has. So we just glued up what will become the foils. Now let's see what we can do about the box that the centerboard is housed in. Thanks so much for stopping by building the Alpha Dory. Look forward to seeing you guys in the comments section and in the next video. Massive thank you to everyone who's liked, subscribed, and supported the channel. Have a great day.